Well, the first round of coalition talks are finished. Israeli President Reuven Rivlin is continuing on to the second and final day of meetings with Israeli political parties.
And after this, Rivlin will have to make a decision as to who will get the first mandate to try and negotiate a government coalition. But with the major parties already out of the way, it seems that Rivlin is no closer to making a choice.
To start with nearly all of the votes finally tallied, it continues to look as though the Blue and White Party, or Kahol Lavan, will enter the next Knesset with 33 seats, and Prime Minister Netanyahu's Likud with 31. Now, the Blue and White Party, as expected, has resoundingly voted for its own chairman, Benny Gantz, to lead the first attempt at coalition talks. But at the same time, however, top Kahol Lavan officials like former Defense Chief Moshe Ya'alon are still advocating for a unity government with the Likud under Gantz's leadership.
אנחנו מתחייבים לפעול באחריות. אנחנו קוראים למפלגות הציוניות, כולל הליכוד, להצטרף לממשלה שתחזיר את אמון הציבור בשליחיו ותחזיר את המדינה למסילה. זאת תהיה ממשלה ראויה בראשותו של בני גנץ.
But that said, without a clear 61-seat majority, strategists within the Blue and White faction are reportedly hoping to still let Prime Minister Netanyahu take the first stab at coalition talks, with further expectations that Netanyahu fails, making it easier then for Gantz in the second round. The religious Shas and ruling Likud parties, on the other hand, voted, of course, for Netanyahu to continue at his post, with Likud arguing that they too want a unity government, but that in fact the Blue and White faction is playing games with the idea and with the public.
The main obstacle is that in order to form any government, you have to negotiate. And the refusal of Benny Gantz to meet Prime Minister Netanyahu, which is something unbelievable. I don't think that in any country in the world, in any democracy, there is a situation that one party leader refuses to meet the Prime Minister, even to talk. So without talking and without negotiating, it's impossible to form a government.
But that said, just a few hours later, and at the summons of the president, Netanyahu and Gantz met in Jerusalem to discuss the possibility of a unity government, though there's no word yet as to what resulted.
For Rivlin, however, without taking sides, he's simply noting that the parties are obligated to make a decision one way or the other, and fast, for the sake of the nation.
Now, in the meantime, the third largest faction, the Joint Arab List, is making major news on its own as it endorses the Blue and White's Benny Gantz for leadership, the first time the Arab List has endorsed a Zionist politician since Yitzhak Rabin in 1992.
Reports reveal that there's some trouble in paradise, though, because despite Chairman Odeh's insistence that he speaks for his whole joint faction, only 3 of the 4 Arab parties and 10 of the 13 Joint List lawmakers actually support endorsing Gantz.
Yeah, the only thing that the whole list agrees upon, then, are ousting Netanyahu from office, while also rejecting a unity government, as Tal chairman Ahmed Tibi clarifies.
Netanyahu leaving the power is the most important historical thing in the last decade. Our recommendation is historical, and the results are so important, not for Arabs only, but for Jews and Arabs and for the whole area. We will vote against unity government. The Joint List will vote against unity government. There is a difference between recommendation and voting against the government.
So who is the holdout in the list? Well, that honor falls upon the Palestinian Nationalist Balad Party, which refused to even attend the meeting with Rivlin on Sunday, while also refusing to endorse Gantz for leadership. Balad explains that they reject General Benny Gantz because of his Zionist ideology, his right-wing positions that aren't much different from Likud's, and his bloody and aggressive military history. Balad itself has a tumultuous history in Israel, to say the least. However, as the most extreme out of the 4 groups, Balad has consistently been plagued with hardliners and even criminals.
For one, its founder, Asmi Bishara, is living in Qatar as a fugitive, suspected of giving intelligence to terror group Hezbollah during the Second Lebanon War. Then former Balad MK Basil Ghatas is in prison for smuggling cell phones and other contraband to terrorists in Israeli prisons, while former Balad MK Hanin Zoabi participated in the 2010 Gaza flotilla incident on the infamous Mavi Marmara.
So in response to the endorsement, regardless of how Balad isn't included, Netanyahu is again warning of a potential left-wing government that relies on the Arab party's involvement to stay in power.
אזרחי ישראל, זה קרה בדיוק כפי שהזהרנו. הרשימה הערבית המשותפת המליצה על בני גנץ לראשות הממשלה. עכשיו, יש 2 אפשרויות. או שתקום ממשלת מיעוט שנשענת על אלה ששוללים את ישראל כמדינה יהודית ודמוקרטית ומעללים מחבלים שרוצחים את חיילינו ואת אזרחינו. או שתקום ממשלה לאומית רחבה. אני יודע מה התשובה וגם אתם יודעים, ולכן אני אפעל ככל שאני יכול להקים ממשלת אחדות לאומית רחבה. אין פתרון אחר.
And now moving on to the so-called kingmaker. Israel Beitenu chairman Avigdor Lieberman has reportedly just met with blue and white number 1 Benny Gantz, and Lieberman has posted a cryptic tweet about the get-together saying that he exchanged views and perspectives with Gantz, but if necessary, he'll speak with him again later on. At any rate, until now, Lieberman has neither endorsed Gantz nor Netanyahu, and in light of the other parties' earlier endorsements, Lieberman reiterates that he will only sit in a unity government or no government at all.
אני חוזר ואומר, אני לא רואה את עצמי לא עם מרץ, לא עם המשיחים, לא עם החרדים ולא עם רשימה משותפת.
Lieberman then further explains that the right wing is akin to a messianic gang, while the left includes the Arab parties, which he finds unfit for Israeli government in the first place.
יש בתוך כנסת ישראל מפלגה שמנסה להרוס אותנו מבפנים, ומבחינתי במקרה הטוב מקומם בפרלמנט ברמאללה, לא בכנסת ישראל. לכן אנחנו לא נוכל להמליץ גם על יושב ראש כחול לבן בני גנץ. לכן המלצה שלנו לנשיא תהיה מאוד פשוטה, לא ממליצים על אף אחד.
But towards his dream of a secular unity, Lieberman says he plans to meet already with the blue and white's Benny Gantz on Monday afternoon, while also suggesting that Gantz and Netanyahu drop their childish disputes and, quote, flip a coin on who gets to be prime minister under a rotational agreement. In the absence of a unity, though, it seems that third elections may be the only option, which is everyone's nightmare scenario. Because while Lieberman insists he'll neither sit with the Arab list nor the ultra-Orthodox, the Haredi parties likewise say that they refuse to sit with both Lieberman and the blue and white second-in-command, Yair Lapid.
Now, with respect to Rivlin's continuing pre-coalition talks on Monday, the religious UTJ party and the right-wing Yamina alliance as promised are recommending Netanyahu to be prime minister. On the left, though, the Labor Gesher and Democratic camps are both backing Gantz.
Yeah, but with the joint list divided and Lieberman abstaining, Netanyahu indeed has a slim majority of support with 55 on the right to left's 54. So who knows what President Rivlin will decide? Here to help discuss the options, we have Dr. Martin Sherman, the founder and executive director of the Israel Institute for Strategic Studies, and Mark Schulman, columnist for Newsweek and editor of HistoryCentral.com.
So let's talk about the numbers. We're seeing what the numbers now, the way that they are. Who do you think has the best chance of forming a coalition here?
Yeah, that's a big question.
Yeah.
Best quote, I mean, no one on everybody. That's the reality.
Right.
At the moment, I would say a slight edge still stands with Gantz to be able to form the coalition. He still has more supporters than, assuming that Lieberman,
including the anti-Zionist parties.
including whoever it is, he has more supporters. It's not relevant who they are. He has more supporters. Now, the reality of the situation is it's difficult. The bottom problem is Prime Minister Netanyahu. If Prime Minister Netanyahu would move aside, there'd be a coalition in about 30 seconds. The reality is that Gantz ran on the concept that he will not sit with someone under indictment. Now, we could come to an agreement with that Netanyahu would serve until he's indicted, if he's indicted, and he would resign once indicted. We're talking about a period of 6 weeks at the maximum for a decision to be made, so that seems a little bit hard to see that happening. There's been talk all along about the possibility of Netanyahu taking a plea deal and agreeing to
with everyone except Netanyahu. But when you say Gantz can put together a government, Gantz can't put together a government because he needs the Arabs and Lieberman. And Lieberman won't sit with the Arabs. He's got no chance of putting.
Well, first of all, he wouldn't put the Arabs would be on the outside. Number one, if they.
But then he hasn't got a majority.
He hasn't. No, they can support on the outside. We've had those situations in the past.
I rest my case.
No, you don't have to rest your case.
Listen, are you listening to what you're saying? You're saying a party headed by 3 former chiefs of staff is going to rest on the support of an anti-Zionist faction.
Just long
Really?
enough for Likud to get rid of Netanyahu. That's the reality. The fact of the matter is they're sticking to him like glue, which is quite impressive. They're holding on to him. But the reality is he lost 2 elections in a row. In any other place in the world, his party would come and say, "Time for you to move on."
So, Martin, why do you say that he did not?
Well, he didn't lose because he wasn't voted out of power. If he lost, he would have been out of power. He's still in power, and as Aaron pointed out, he still has the highest number of recommendations to the president. So I think one of the things is you're going to see Lieberman under tremendous pressure from right-wing sources to give up his aloof stand and join the coalition. Because
he will never join the coalition with the religious.
But
his whole point
his last 20 years is strewn with deals with the religious.
But at this point, he could have done this last time. He didn't do it last time. He's not going to do it this time. The reality is he bet his whole career on the fact that he would make changes in terms of religion and state in this country.
The amazing thing in this election is that the party that precipitated these elections and should have been punished by the electorate is being rewarded. I don't think that's going to happen again, because I think if Lieberman once again prevents a right-wing coalition coming together, his voters are going to leave him in droves.
It's very simple. It's very simple. All he wants is a coalition between Likud and blue and white.
That's secular.
That's secular. That's all he's asking. Now, Netanyahu is insisting that he has to come with his whole crew of religious parties because he has made an agreement with them. It seems to be an agreement that goes all the way back to 1982 when the Haredi Ashkenazim joined the Begin government.
All right, well, so I want to ask something, kind of take this in a different direction. Something that we've never seen before is the possibility of the Arab parties as lead of the opposition. Do you think that that's...
That's not going to happen because the reality is that even though they're the largest group, you have to be voted to be the head of the opposition. So they will never be depending on who's left, obviously, in the opposition. If there's no one left in the opposition, a broad coalition of everybody but the Arabs, then they'll be the head of the opposition.
Well, Martin, my question now for you is, and if you could just give us one quick answer here, who do you predict that Rivlin will choose? Who will he give the mandate to?
I don't really have a good sense of who he'll choose. I think the logical choice would be Netanyahu because he has the highest number of recommendations. And I think he's got a much better chance with Gantz. We talked about the opposition.
Yeah, well,
how is the head of the opposition going to be briefed on sensitive intelligence issues?
I repeat, he won't be the head of the opposition because the reality is he has to be voted as head of the opposition.
I rest my case.
Right. Well, on that note, again, another interview with no answer.
Isn't
Hopefully
Israeli
we'll have you
politics
guys
fun?
back in this week. So much fun.
Yeah.